Master any and every shift on the violin in 5 easy steps. If we haven't met, hi, I'm Megan. I'm a violinist and teacher. I've been playing the violin for over 20 years. I have my bachelor's and master's degrees in violin performance, and I am Suzuki trained. If you're learning a lot from my videos, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel. It's easy and it's free, and I really appreciate it. And if you're interested in working with me, you can check the description for a private lesson application, as well as the waitlist for Learn Violin Online. Enrollment is opening up next week, and if you join the waitlist and you join LVO at the lifetime level, I'll also give you a free one of my digital courses of your choosing. So first, what is a shift? Well, a shift is the act of changing positions on the violin. And there's basically 3 reasons why you would choose to shift. The first, and arguably the most obvious, is to play a note that is not currently possible in the position that you're in. So for example, if I was playing in first position on the E string, but then I needed to play a high E, I would have to shift to at least 4th position to play that note. Second, you would choose to shift to avoid string crossings. I think we can all agree that string crossings can be pretty tricky on the violin. So if you are able to shift and play a passage entirely on one string, you would choose to do that rather than staying in a position where you would have to string cross. And 3, this one's a little bit more subjective, but it's to create a specific character or tone color. Playing in first position on the E string sounds much different than playing high up on the D string, so you may choose to shift depending on the mood that you're going for. With all that being said, there's really just 5 simple steps you need to take when you are tackling a shift. Step number 1 is to create your strategy for the shift. So this includes how you are actually going to do the shift and the interval or the distance that you're going. You need to identify what position you're moving from and going to, and also what finger is going to be the one with doing the heavy lifting. Now, when creating this strategy, there's not like one specific right way, but I will say that generally, if you can shift with your first finger, that's what you want to do. Your first finger is obviously the basis of what position you're in, and therefore likely knows where you're going a little bit better than the other fingers. But say, for example, I wanted to go from B, first finger on the A string, to G, 4th finger on the A string in 3rd position. My strategy would be to use my 1 to shift to D. So use my 1 to get to 3rd position and then place my 4 on G. So that is my strategy for the shift. I know I'm going from first position to 3rd position. A little tip if you need to shift and then also string cross. I personally find it easier to shift first and then string cross. So for example, if I wanted to go from E, first finger on the D string, to that G, 4th finger on the A string in 3rd position, I would use my 1 to slide up to G, which is first finger, 3rd position on the D string, and then place my 4 on that G on the A string. So step number 1 is find your strategy for the shift, know what position you are going from and to. Now that you know your strategy, the second step is to memorize or measure the distance. And we do so by isolating the shift, aka playing the shift by itself, with full finger pressure and really trying to memorize that distance. So for example, in that shift going from the B to the G, here's how I would do that. So what I'm doing is practicing that shift over and over, and I'm really trying to memorize the distance. I'm trying not only to memorize the distance of the shift, right, going from the B to the D, but also memorize the distance from the 1 to the 4, from the D to the G. And again, I'm not lightening my finger at all. This is going to be the best method to use to really memorize the distance. Step number 3 is to do that same thing, but to lighten the finger pressure. So I would start out with my normal finger pressure, then lighten it as I shift, and then put the finger pressure back in when I get to my desired note. And you can see here, I overshot it a little bit. Also, when you're doing this, I think it's important to go both directions. So both to shift up and to shift down. Even if the shift that you're trying to work on is just up, it's a good idea to practice the up and the down. I'm still shifting relatively slowly, but I am lightening my finger pressure as I shift. Step number 4 is to speed this up and not add the finger pressure back in until you get to the desired note. So in the previous step, I was just lightening my finger as I went from B to D, right? Then I was playing D solidly, and then the G solidly. In the second step, I'm only going to increase my finger pressure when I want to play that G. This helps get rid of that intermediary note of the D. And again, I want to speed this up. I want to try to shift as fast as possible as I need to in the piece. And the fifth and final step is to put the shift back into context. So maybe start out by playing just the measure where the shift occurs, then maybe go back a few measures, maybe go back to the beginning of the section, just so you can practice putting that shift into context. Because I think we can all agree it feels very different to practice something in isolation by itself than it does to put it back within the context of the piece. Once you complete all 5 of these steps, congratulations, you have mastered this shift and you can move on to the next one. So to sum up, the steps were to identify your strategy for the shift, including the positions, isolate that shift very slowly, and maintaining finger pressure as you shift, trying to memorize the distance, lighten the finger pressure as you shift, do not increase the finger pressure until you're on your desired note and shift more quickly. And 5, put the shift back into context. What questions do you have about shifting? Leave a comment and let me know. Thank you so much for watching, and please make sure you're subscribed.